Christmas. A time for families to get together, couples to snuggle under the covers, presents, Christmas trees, hot chocolate, holidays. But what if men suddenly broke into your house on Christmas Eve? Or gangs followed you in the parking lot? They are much scarier than ghosts, because these strange people can actually hurt you, or even kill you. So grab a blanket, turn off your lights, and get ready for 5 true, scary, creepy Christmas encounter stories from Reddit. Creepy Christmas. This is my first post and first day ever on Reddit, so please bear with me. When I saw Let's Not Meet, I knew I had to share one of my own not so pleasant stories. It was Christmas Eve, and I was a freshman in high school. My family has been split up for some time, so normally we trade off of Christmas Day and Christmas Eve every year. And this year, I had come home early from my grandparents' Christmas party, while everyone else was at my aunts and uncles celebrating at another party. When I was dropped off, my cousins offered to stay with me for a few hours, yet I declined. I thought I could watch some of my new DVDs and get some alone time in the house, which is a rarity. I had noticed an unfamiliar car parked on the street, but didn't think anything of it, considering it was Christmas Eve. Probably a neighbor's relative or something. After I got inside, I locked the door, grabbed snacks, and started to settle down. I hadn't been home for more than 15 minutes when there was a knock at the door. I unlocked the door and opened it only a crack to see a man standing there. Dark hair, glasses, slightly overweight, and dressed casually. He didn't look like much of a threat, but my stomach dropped. He asked, "I was wondering about the car outside. Is it for sale?" I told him I didn't think so. "Is there someone I can talk to about it?" I said, "No, you can come back another time," and shut the door and turned the lock as fast as I possibly could. He reached for the handle immediately and started pounding on the door. I heard a string of profanities and the pounding stopped. Terrified, I was crawling on the floor to the phone, hoping he wouldn't be able to see me through one of the windows. Then I heard the noises. Our house had an open garage door, and it led through to the laundry room, where the door lock was broken and no one had bothered to fix it. Just then, I heard a man yell, and I saw the man through the window run to his car and drive off. My uncle had gotten him just in time and scared the man off. Who knows what would have happened if he hadn't made it home in time. Sadly, we didn't get the plate number of the car, and nothing ever came out of it. But I'll never be home alone on a holiday again. Followed off the bus on Christmas. This happened almost 3 years ago, on Christmas Eve. At the time, I was working a retail job at the mall. I live in a reasonably sized city, and we have a great transit system. I had tried to get out of working the holidays, but, of course, that didn't happen. My parents were out of the state, visiting the rest of the family, and I had planned to take the Amtrak out there to visit them early the next morning. I got off work around 9 p.m. and caught my first bus at the transit station below the mall. I had my headphones in and was minding my own business when a group of 3 guys in maybe their mid-20s got on the bus and sat behind me. I had my music playing pretty quietly, and I heard them started talking about me. I've always been afraid of strangers, so I tried to play it off and tell myself I was just being paranoid. But I knew better. My first transfer was coming up, and I waited until the very last second to request my stop. The bus started slowing down, and as I stood up, I heard the 3 of them do the same. At this point, I was getting a little nervous. It was nearly 10 p.m., and although there were plenty of businesses in the area, no one was around. Seeing as it was Christmas Eve and all of them were closed. I had to walk from the bus stop I'd gotten off at to a different one down the street to catch the bus that would take me to my apartment. There was a little shortcut that I'd never seen anyone take before, so I got off the bus and started heading that way. These guys followed me. I reached into my pocket and held my mace in my hand, something that most young women I know always have on them when taking public transit, especially at night, and reached the next bus stop. I sat down in the shelter and pretended I didn't notice that I wasn't alone. One of the guys enters the shelter and starts talking to me. "Hey baby, how you doing? What's your name? Why you all by yourself so late at night?" I ignored him, stood up, and walked about 20 feet away from that bus stop. This is where shit got real weird. One of the other guys started walking towards me. I moved close to the street to let him pass me. He kept walking for maybe another 10 feet, then stopped and turned around. The other 2 were still standing next to the shelter. As I'm looking at them, they start walking towards me really fast. I turn around, and the 3rd guy who had passed me was doing the same. I panicked and ran across the street as fast as I could, losing my favorite hat doing so, unfortunately, and saw that there was a fast food restaurant still open down the road. I looked behind me and saw that these guys were chasing me. I booked it to the fast food joint and ran inside. I told the guy at the counter what had just happened. He was a terrifyingly looking dude, maybe 6'4", in his early 30s and covered in muscle. The guys had waited outside for a moment, but I'm pretty sure they bolted when they saw me talking to him. The employee took off out the door in search of them, but couldn't find them. I waited there for almost an hour to make sure they wouldn't come back. I was too afraid to go wait for the next bus, so I ended up spending my train money for the next morning on a cab to get home and spend that Christmas in bed watching TV. So, assholes who followed me off the bus and ruined my Christmas 2011 for me, let's not ever meet again. Christmas break, 4th grade. It was Christmas break, and I was in 4th grade, just a skosh over 9 years old. My friend, also 9, and his brother 10, decided to go to a movie. This was in a town of less than 50,000 people in Wisconsin, which was generally known to be safe. The 3 of us thought nothing of going into a movie alone on a dark December evening. The movie finished at a little earlier after 9 p.m., and we were waiting outside the movie theater for a ride. This was prior to the use of cell phones, so we prearranged a time with our parents. While we waited, we walked to a nearby store that had shoes on display in a shop window. I was proud that I had just learned the proper pronunciation of Adidas and had to share that knowledge with my friends. "It's Adidas," I said, not Adidas, which was the incorrect way I had heard some people pronounce it. Out of nowhere, a 30-ish man appeared, grabbing my scarf and holding his face inches from mine. "It's Adidas," he said in a menacing tone. He did not release his grip on my scarf, instead pulling it tighter so it was beginning to choke me. His face was no more than 5 inches from my face, and I recall thinking that he looked sick. Pasty skin, crooked and yellowing teeth, chapped lips, bad breath. I was generally oblivious to such things when I was 9, but I distinctly remember thinking, A, he wasn't well, or B, I was now potentially in danger, but I didn't know why. My friends were of little help as they slowly backed out of the immediate area until they were several feet away from us, safely watching the proceedings from a distance. Some kind of survival instinct kicked in, and it occurred to me that I would have to talk my way out of this. The man seemed agitated and angry, and I knew I would have to calm him down. He continued to tighten the grip on my scarf, but I didn't let on that I was in any kind of discomfort. I continued to calmly talk to him about what I don't remember, until at some point he decided he'd had enough and released his grip on my scarf and walked away. I don't know what that man's problem was that night. Mental illness? Drugs? Whatever it was, I am grateful he decided to release me rather than harming me or dragging me from my friends to face an unknown fate. Have a Merry Christmas. This didn't happen a long time ago, so everything is still fresh in my mind. My fiancé and I were enjoying a nice relaxing evening at home. The cable had randomly gone out, so it was quiet while we tried to fix it. Our living room has 2 large windows looking out at the street and driveway, and our door also has a large oval window in it. We live on a dead-end street with very few neighbors. While fixing the cable, a truck screeches into our driveway, and 2 men immediately get out screaming, "Hey, it's us!" I initially groaned, thinking it was my fiancé's annoying cousin and friends randomly showing up. That's until my fiancé bolts into the back bedroom. The men have then gone onto the porch. One is staring at me from the large window and banging on it, and the other one is pulling at the door and looking in. They're screaming at us to let us in. It's not friendly. I'm sure they don't know us. Our house couldn't be confused for any other on the road either. My fiancé is back near the door. He tells them to leave. I see he went to retrieve the pistol. I kind of inch off the couch and go around behind to somewhat hide. I yell, "I'm calling the cops." They back off a little towards the driveway, but as soon as I move in front of the door, they're back screaming to be let in. Trying for the door and windows, they keep shouting their names for some odd reason, but we don't know them and have never seen them. I'm calling 911 in the back, but keeping an eye on them from another window. I finish up calling and move slightly into the hallway. They're backing off again, but not before telling us in a creepy, threatening, off-putting voice, "Merry Christmas." They pull out incredibly fast and are off. No attempt to stop anywhere else. Christmas shopper. I'm not a writer, so please forgive errors, and that this may not flow as well as I would like. I'm doing the best I can. A little background first. This happened about 4 years ago. At the time, I was around 8 months pregnant, so very noticeable, and was doing some Christmas shopping at the local mall. It was around 9 at night. I finished up my shopping and headed out of the mall towards my truck. At this mall, there is a road that goes around the mall and parking is on the other side of this road. Therefore, you have to cross the road to get to the parking area. As I'm leaving the store, I happen to notice a man standing in the middle of the road. He looked in my direction and made eye contact. I looked away and kept going. At the same time, there are 2 men that walk past him to go into the mall. He never looks at them or says anything to them, but kept his eyes on me. I noticed that he started to walk in my direction, but I just keep on strolling to my vehicle. Then I hear, "Excuse me, can you help me?" Being Southern has its downfalls, and one of those is having it ingrained into you to be polite. I simply just ask, "What do you need?" He looked around and said, "Could you please help me start my car? I think my battery is dead." I may be Southern, but I'm not that polite, nor am I stupid. Please remember that I am a very pregnant woman walking alone in a parking lot. If he was really having car trouble, is it likely that he would ask a pregnant woman rather than those 2 men that just walked past him? Doubtful. At this point, I know it's time to go, so I just say, "Sorry, I can't help," and keep on walking. A little faster this time. I still see him out of the corner of my eye, following me. I have my keys out and am ready to go as soon as I make it to the truck. He's still coming. "You aren't gonna help me? I just need a jump." Again I said, "Nope, sorry." Finally getting to the truck, unlock it and jump in. He is practically running towards me now. I locked the doors and tried to get the key in the ignition, but I was shaking, and at that moment the damn key just would not fit into the ignition. He gets to the truck and hits my window, saying, "I just need your help for a minute." Now I'm starting to get angry and yell, "No! Get the hell away from me!" He grabs the door handle and tries to open my door and screams, "Just open the door." Here is where I lost my cool and made a split-second decision. I have a concealed carry license because there have been other reasons that I needed protection that I will not go into here. However, I did have a gun in my console that I do know how to use. When he tried to open my door, my only thought was to protect my child and myself. I rolled the window down, grabbed the gun, and pointed it right in his face and said, "I'm not going to tell you again. Get the fuck away from me." He stood there for a moment, in shock, I am sure. In that moment, time stopped. I didn't know what he would do, but I knew that I was prepared to use this gun if he made any move towards me. He didn't. He didn't say a word. He turned and ran. I know I should have gotten the hell out of there, but I couldn't. All I could do was just sit there in shock. I was terrified of not only because what he may have done to me, but also that I just had to threaten to kill someone. Not a situation I ever want to be in again. However, should it happen again, I still have that gun and it is loaded and ready to go. So man at the mall, I hope we never meet again.